Hey there YouTube, this is SJM4306 back with another video. Apologies for my voice, I'm recovering from a pretty bad cold. Anywho, I got a new toy to play with. This will be a repair video, hopefully. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I bought this guy for about 10 bucks. I think it was. Some of that might have been shipping. But it's pretty cheap for what it is. And what it is one of these JBL speakers. And this guy was apparently tested already, and just they wrote parts on it. Comes with the box for some reason. But yeah, I mean, like, condition wise it looked really good. I think they said vaguely something about no power, which I guess we can test real quick. It's super cold outside, so it wouldn't surprise me if this is completely dead, even if it had a good battery. But anywho, yeah, like, physically it looks pretty good. It's a little banged up and whatnot there and here, but everything else looks pretty good. All the buttons seem to press, and it just apparently has no power. So I'm going to grab a USB-C cord and plug it in to see if it'll power on, and I'm just kind of realizing, where the heck are all my cords? Give me 1 sec. Okay, I couldn't find a longer USB-C cord than this, so this is what we're going to have to work with. Try to do this one-handed and see if this will indeed charge or turn on or anything. So a red light comes on. I guess we leave this. I was under the impression they said, like, it had no power at all. I mean, it's still possible that the internal battery is completely kaput, and it'll just sit here looking like it's charging forever and never turn on. I guess we can try to see if this will maybe. So it blinked like 2 times white and then went back red. I'm gonna guess that's a sign that the battery is like super depleted. So I guess what I'm gonna do is just, yeah, it just did it again. So yeah, I think that's a sign, yeah, the battery is really super dead. So I'm just gonna, I guess, let this warm up, because it's still like freezing cold, and let this charge and then see if anything changes, and especially if it still can power on or do anything when it's unplugged. If not, I guess we're gonna pop this open. I'll pop this open either way. I want to see what's inside, but it might be worth it to try to swap out the internal battery here. I don't know if it takes like an 18650 or what, but we'll bodge something in. So give me a sec to see what's going on with the battery right now. Okay, so this has been charging for quite a while, and I can turn it on. Makes sound, and I think eventually it'll just shut itself off. It doesn't seem to do anything other than immediately shut off. I think the battery is completely toast on this guy. The fact that it does kind of power on enough for it to at least turn on momentarily tells me that everything else is working in here. So I guess what we're going to do is pop this guy open and see if we can just replace the battery with, you know, a random battery I have lying around, which should be better than this completely dead internal battery. I'll leave this charging for, you know, quite a bit longer just in case, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that the internal battery is just cactus. I also wanted to show you guys, so it is pulling 0.6 amps, so 600 milliamps, which is actually honestly a little bit low. So I think this is in pre-charge. It's been drained so much that it basically isn't quite up to charging at the full rate, just to like trickle charge the battery to get that voltage up. So I did also notice that now it does turn on when unplugged, but obviously the voltage is so low that immediately, you know, flashes red, and then it'll just shut off on its own, just like that. So yeah, I think I just want to see if this battery will charge, so I'll just leave this plugged in for however long it takes. But I definitely do want to replace it. I'm pretty sure the previous owner let this completely die, and so that's why it's not, you know, turning on normally or anything. And about half an hour later, we're up to 700 milliamps. So that's an improvement. I think it actually is charging the internal battery now. I'm just going to let that go till it fully charges. yeah. Okay, so it turns on. I gave it a good charge, and it does turn on. So yeah, it is working. You can see it's lighting up there, and I tested it. It connects to my phone, plays music just fine. The battery is very tired though. Like I listened to it maybe for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and it was dead by then. This should be lasting closer to like, I think it said like 4 to 5 hours or something. So clearly the battery's kind of toast. Also, if you leave it for a while, like a day or two, it'll show low battery. So it's like self-draining, obviously, and it's not really holding a charge. Everything else functions perfectly, though. So I guess we are going to try to get this open, and from some of the videos I've seen, just going to use this metal pry tool, you basically have to get these two end caps off. There are screws around them and whatnot, then you can start prying on this, and depending on the model, if it's an early revision, you don't have to remove this rubber back pad. You can just peel off the shell around it. If it's a later revision, there's screws that hold this back, the material to the actual plastic mid-frame. So you have to remove this to gain access to the screws. So I guess we are going to start by trying to remove this side piece here and see how that goes. Hopefully I don't screw it up too badly. I think mine is a slightly older model, which is actually maybe a good thing, because this doesn't have the regular clips. It has these pegs, and you can see I accidentally sheared off half of them. So yeah, I'm gonna have to glue those on, unfortunately. Darn it. Yeah, of course this is gonna be probably slightly destructive. There we go. Just sort of. This side I only broke one. So getting a bit better. Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, I could see the Phillips screw. Looks like this is to remove this strap. There's like a little bezel over the USB-C. And sorry about that. I don't know if you have to remove this bezel part, but I'm just going to remove it anyway. There we go. Yeah. This probably wasn't strictly necessary to remove now I'm looking at it. This side, oh yeah, there's just like little clips. Interesting. So, yeah, you can see it's starting to separate there now. Just pop back in. I need like a spudger, but like not one that's like slippery like this. This is really hard to work with. Maybe a plastic one? Nah, too bendy. Yeah, there's probably a clip or something here. If this doesn't just pop off, then I think I might have to heat this up with a hot air gun to get enough. Oh. Okay, yeah, there are two clips here, and this one is one of the older ones, so I don't need to remove this with heat because that looked like it would have been a pain. So that is good. This is going to be one of those get a clip out and then accidentally re-engage the clip, isn't it? I might have to do this bit off camera. Ooh, and the speaker's right there. I don't want to really pry too much. Oh boy, had to use some brute force. So yeah, these little ear thingies, which I kind of bent a little bit too much, oopsie. You have to get those out, and then the very bottom, there's like 3 plastic tabs that go into like these slots here. You have to basically grab it like this, pull these out as you have these unclipped, and then you can kind of swing the bottom out. You can see it's like a little dirty. There's like crumbs of something in there, so probably gonna have to clean that out really well. Yeah, that's a bit weird. Yeah, I mean, it should still turn on, and indeed it does. There we go. And yeah, so I should be able to now, it's just 6 screws. So the ones I saw online, it looked like there's like several different versions of this. The other ones look kind of more annoying to open, except for this end piece. On the newer ones, they have like the plastic clips that go around, so probably harder to break those. These broke kind of a bit too easily, I think. So not too happy about the end caps there. I'm gonna have to definitely like glue that in or something. Probably gonna use like a rubber glue, like E6000, so that it's openable in the future. I'm not gonna permanently epoxy it shut. Or clips. I'm sick of clips. Just sort of open. I think I'm gonna need to get something in between like this rubber seal thing. Something like a pry tool like this. Gonna have to be real careful so I don't accidentally slip and cut myself. Okay, so what I ended up having to do is I started in the corner here, and I got this in to create a gap, and then I got it wide enough to stick this in, and I just went around the outside, and it did have to sort of, I mean, there are like little pegs in there that I guess friction fit into like 2 holes. There's 2 of them, and I just had to create like a gap. I had to pop that seal. I did actually remove the speaker thinking I could like maybe push it out from the inside, but no, it's like the battery right there, and you probably don't want to really be pushing on that. So yeah, here we have the battery. It is upside down. It says model number GSP 383562, 3.7 volt, 750 milliamp hours, and lithium polymer. So yeah, obviously that's what's not being super happy right now. There's a protective plastic sheet over it, which is very well stuck down. Guess we could put that off to the side. We have, it's just a pouch cell. Ah, get off my finger. So, yeah, just a pouch cell. There is, interestingly, 4 wires. So, yeah. This battery is old, so I'm going to need to find a replacement that'll fit physically. There might be some vertical clearance, like a tiny little bit, but I can't probably go too thick, unfortunately. And I might need to reuse the protection board because it has 4 wires. So it has red, yellow, white, and black. So red and black are obviously the ground and V+, and the other 2 are probably for like the thermistor. Now this doesn't, I'm guessing this doesn't have like a common thermistor. Like a lot of times they'll run the one leg of the thermistor on the positive rail or the negative, I don't know which, so that you can get away with just 3 wires. So you'll have your temperature, positive, negative. But here I think what they're doing is it's just separate. And yeah. So just looking at this, they put a weight in here because yeah, it'll sit on this direction. So yeah, they put a little metal weight in there. That's interesting, to weight it so that it can stand up properly. Otherwise the center of balance of this would be all off and it'd keep wanting to tip over. So yeah, we have a pretty tall capacitor there. That is, yeah, it's a little taller than the speaker, so maybe that might limit our options in terms of the thickness of the battery. Maybe I might be able to switch that for like a flatter one. It's only 25 volts 220, so I should be able to like put a tantalum in there of like similar or greater value. That probably would be fine. Yeah, there's like a, I think that's a flux. There's like white powderage going on, which is weird. Might as well, I guess, take the board out completely while we're at it. You can see exposed ground, like thermal ground pads with like many vias going off to the other side. So that's clearly going to be on the other side of this will be the amplifier, and undoubtedly it's going to be like a Class D amplifier, probably like a single chip solution. Wiggle it out. Yeah, the port is going to be a sticking point, so I'm going to have to make sure we clear that. And we have just the speaker and a passive radiator, which is basically just a piece of metal that's coated in rubber, and it's made exactly like a speaker in terms of the suspension, and it basically extends the like the bass frequencies of the speaker, because this is all sealed. So yeah, when the speaker pulls in, this will have to push out because the pressure has to be equalized, and when this pulls out, this will pull in, or vice versa, whatever. I think I said that backwards. Anywho, can we get this? I tried pulling this speaker out, and this connector started, yeah, just coming with it, which is a problem with these tiny little Molexes, or these tiny little connectors oftentimes will do that. Here, gonna need some. They actually, I think they glued this in, maybe. Maybe that's why it was so hard to get out. Gonna have to see which way. Where? Yeah, there we go. I'm just gonna stick this back on. Yeah, there we go, good as new. These are the tiniest little tack switches. Wow. And here they have the dual color LED, and obviously it's red and white, and so there are 3 leads on there. But it's like a, what would you call that, like a straw hat style or something, because it's like flat on the top. That's interesting. Here's a Bluetooth chipset. Oh, is that corrosion? The heck? I think that's corrosion. I mean, clearly this works still. But yeah, that looks like water damage. But I mean, it was sealed. So how the what? Yeah, I'm kind of wondering now if this white stuff is flux or if it's like liquid damage as well. I'm gonna want to clean that, even though this board does work. It's still probably really not good for it to have whatever this corrosive substance is, because over a long period of time it will eventually eat through and damage it. That is really weird. This is like fully sealed. How could moisture get in to do that? I wonder if someone's been in here before. No, but I mean, it was like sealed really well. Didn't expect it. I'll clean off all this crud. I think this is just flux, but yeah, don't like leaving all this here. Yeah, because these are all through-hole pads, so these would have been hand soldered likely on a board this small and relatively low profit. So obviously here we have our QFN chip, and yeah, get this in focus. This is the Class D amplifier. You can see the inductors, the capacitors, and the big boy cap in the back there. And that is in close proximity. Sorry about the wiggle. I'm 3D printing something right now, and apparently it's like wiggling my entire bracket that I have my phone mounted to. But anywho, the speaker output is right next to here, so that makes sense. We have our USB-C connector. It does have like an extra rubber seal around it, which is also why I'm surprised any kind of liquid could possibly get in here. And it has to be airtight, obviously, for the speaker to sound not horrible. We have more liquid damage looking stuff. And that little chip right there. It looks like it's just surface. I don't think it actually... The reason why it still works is like whatever that corrosion is just sitting on the surface. It hasn't eaten through anything as far as I know yet. Let's see. Obviously, this is like related to like probably charging. This is probably a charge controller IC. It's right next to the USB input. There is like an unpopulated U3 package right here. And I see some 0 ohm link resistors. And then obviously this is the Bluetooth chipset. So this board does like everything. And yeah, there is some passives and a IPEX connector footprint. So I guess at one point maybe they were thinking of using a one of these guys. This is like a antenna from like a router, Wi-Fi router, so it would just have snapped onto there and it would have been an external antenna. But then they opted for a T antenna, and it's named such because it looks like a T. Yeah, so obviously they're using the PCB as the antenna for that, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, there's really not too much to this, and I guess that's why it's still working just fine, even though there's obvious like liquid damage to it, which is a little unsettling. But yeah, and the speaker itself, this is about like a little over an inch diameter, tiny little guy. And yeah, so I guess this can go back together and get screwed down. I'm gonna have to pull this battery out, probably gonna do that off camera, because I'm gonna have to leak some isopropyl alcohol under here. It's probably double-sided stick tape down, and I don't want to pry on the battery. That's like the worst thing you can do. So I'm gonna drip some isopropyl, let that like eat the adhesive, and then this should come out much easier. I'll do that all off camera because that's gonna take a little while. Okay, the isopropyl trick worked really well. It always does. Just left a little bit of the adhesive on the back plate. Most of the adhesive came off with the battery though, so that's good. So yeah, just gonna have to let this little bit dry here, maybe try to scrape off what's left of the adhesive. But yeah, good thing about isopropyl is it evaporates quickly, and then this gets tacky again. And so if I wanted to, for some reason, I could reuse this battery. You can see here, it's already starting to get tacky again. But I want to stick a new battery in this, and I don't want to faff around with like directly soldering to the board or like modifying the charge circuit or anything. So I'm just going to peel off the charge protection circuit, which is on the board, the front side of the board there. And to do that, I pretty much just need to find the end of the tape and start untaping the tape. So what we're after is this board part that is wrapped in this green protective Captain tape. And just need to peel it off. Gotta stick this tape somewhere. And there we go. We have the top, some more. And we just have two connections. And I'm just gonna snip them. Obviously don't short between the two, but shouldn't really matter too much. Or actually, you know what? Just metal fatigue them. If you bend thin metal strips enough, it'll concentrate the weakest bits, and yeah, it just snaps right off. And I can just solder a new battery to that. And yeah, you can see there's actually like a MOSFET here, and then the main chip that does the protection, and it can disconnect the cell in case there's a problem. And yeah, we can reuse this, and it's going to plug right in, and I don't have to worry about anything funky. This battery is probably, yeah, obviously it still works, but it just doesn't hold a charge, so this is going to get properly disposed of. Okay. Okay, so I dug out this battery. This is, you probably can't read it, but I can. It says 950 milliamp hours. So this is actually larger than the stock battery. Physically, it is thicker, even though it is smaller surface area-wise, sort of. So I need to make sure that this will fit, because clearly the speaker sticks up, this cap sticks up, this jack sticks up. So if it's too thick, then I'm going to have to find a different cell. This would be nice because this is a nice bump up over the original 750. This is about 200 milliamp hours larger. So that's what, 2/7-ish more play time than the original stock battery. So if I just lightly put this together to the point where it'll close, yeah, I can feel that I can squeeze it shut, and I'm not feeling any pressure. So they give you actually enough room inside. Just pull this out again. They give you enough room inside that this isn't touching anything, because otherwise I would start to feel pressure. So I'm just going to rock with this battery. Now the only thing about this battery, I just taped down the wires so that they didn't short against anything inside. And yeah, you can see here, 950. Thing about this battery is it has its own protection circuit, but I want to reuse this one so I can use the connector and everything and don't have to faff around with it. And it just has the battery contacts there. So what I'm going to try to do is just remove the tape here and desolder both sides here, being careful not to short anything the entire time. And then I should be able to just lay them on here and just solder them on. The way that these work is they tab weld to like a larger piece of solderable material to the tab, because you really shouldn't heat up the tab that actually goes into the battery. That could cause it to fail or explode or just be angry. So not good. So they weld it. I guess they solder the piece of metal first, like the larger piece of metal. They must solder it, and then they cold like tab weld it to the battery tabs. And so if we're quick about it, we can add a blob of solder and then just heat it up enough so that separates from the board. I've done this tons of times. I'm going to get everything ready for soldering, so give me 1 sec. I'm just going to use this portable iron because it has like a larger surface area tip. So I'm going to add solder, let it get hot enough, tin this pad, and then lift one of the pads, and then I don't have to worry as much as the other one because there's no risk of really shorting anything if only one pad is connected. But yeah, it should be good enough. This should be able to, yeah, there you go. Just let it cool, and good enough. And do the same thing for the other side. And there we go. So it's now lifted. The battery still has the like solderable tab parts on there. This one is still perfectly reusable. And so this battery it has the old tabs on there. I'm just going to desolder those. Not strictly necessary to remove the old one, but it exposes like a nice shiny solder pad. Probably should have checked before I did this, but yeah, okay, it does have it listed as positive is this side, negative is this side. You need to make sure that it matches. It says negative is on this side, positive is on this side, so it has to go upside down. So what I am going to need to do is I'm just going to add a bunch of solder. Oh, it got so hot that it desoldered the chip on here. What the? That just popped off. Crud, now I have to figure out which. Yeah, that chip, the main protection IC, got so hot that it just popped right off. I'm gonna have to. I've never had that happen before. I guess this board was thin, and I was applying heat for quite a while. So I'm gonna need to use hot air to put that back on. Darn it! Everything's just going wrong today. That wasn't just me, that was weird, right? How quickly that chip desoldered itself. Oops, apparently I left this on. Yeah, so I used hot air, put it back on. There's a little dot on the chip you can just about see. Well, you probably can't. I could barely see. And the outline of it said that pin 1 was the pin nearest to me right now, so it's that corner pin. So stuck it on in that orientation. Soldered the battery pretty quickly because obviously this is a very thin board, so I don't want it to keep desoldering. And when I measured the voltage, it was 0. Obviously it went into like under voltage protection when it was disconnected. And so I had to plug it in quickly to charge just for a second. This battery is almost fully charged, but I plugged it in a little bit to just top it off, and that basically turned off the protection mode. And so I'm measuring like about 4 volts between the red and the black wires now. And as you could see, turns on, and yeah, so it is working. So I'm just going to turn it off and disconnect the battery. And we have to properly insulate this now. So I'm probably just going to reuse some of the tape stuff that came with. Let's see, what's the best way of doing this? Yeah, I guess it doesn't have to necessarily be folded over or anything. I could just tape it on like this. There's plenty of room next to the cell anyway, so yeah, I'm just gonna tape it like this. And I want the battery in this corner, so somewhere like here, and the wire can bend over, that's fine. But we are gonna have to double stick this battery down because, well, might be able to like reuse all this. Just sort of smush it. Let's see. I just don't want it rattling if I can help it. Still turns on. Yeah, I can see the speaker. It is kind of tight. Maybe not super tight, but it does look like the speaker will be pressing on the battery a little bit, which probably isn't great, but should at least prevent the battery from moving. If the battery ever swells, that might be an issue, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm just going to put the screws in. Oh, part of the air seal is this bracket. Yeah, because there's a massive gaping hole around the USB jack. So when I'm like pressing this, I can feel like a little bit of air coming in and out of that. So obviously this has to be probably tightened fully. I think that's as good as I'm going to get it. Also, the battery volume and shape and whatnot being different, taking up a different amount of space inside, obviously could change acoustic properties of this. So yeah, so we got at least the battery installed. That's all good. This missing only one tab probably won't affect really anything at all, so that's probably fine. We are gonna have to figure out the power button situation though. Probably am gonna have to like put a dollop of like E6000 in each of these and then press that in, make sure they're like overflowing, and then press this in and then clamp it and then let it dry. That's probably gonna be the method I'm gonna use. We need to get this in here though. So it was a pain in the butt to get this out. So I'm kind of wondering, is putting this in easier or is it gonna be equally as painful? Oh, it actually just sort of popped in a little bit. So all the clips just sort of clicked back in. That is good. And oh, this caught on the edge there, damn it. So I'm gonna have to re-pull that side out at the very least. Yeah, there's like an edge, braided edge there that you just gotta make sure it does not catch, which is easier said than done. Obviously you're supposed to clip this on and then put this back pad on, but because I kind of am trying to do it in the opposite order, that clearly is not going to work. So got one side pretty good. I have to kind of tuck the fibers in as I yeah, that's good. Good enough for me. So that's in. This side, gonna squeeze this in. Most of these clips are fine. It's just like literally the one clip here, and that's okay with me if that clip just sort of never goes back in. But clearly, this side, there's nothing to hold it really in anymore. Actually, yeah, no, it'll just pop out on its own. So yeah, I'm gonna have to glue this very slightly in, but let's just turn it on again. It sounds about the same as it did before I did the battery replacement. So I think the sealing's good enough. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to lightly glue this in. This is like the weird nylon material though, so I'm a little worried that glue won't really stick to this. But I guess we'll have to see. I guess worst case I could put, bead of glue here. This is like rubber though. That's probably not going to stick too well, and I would have to scratch up a bunch of that. So we'll see. I'll glue this and get back to you guys, and we'll test the speaker, hook it up to something, and play some music and see if everything works, I guess. Okay, so it's been a little while since I replaced the battery in this. I fully charged it, and I haven't charged it again. I've used this for a little over 5 hours now. It's been probably like a week of usage, maybe about an hour a day, so about 5-ish hours. The original battery barely lasted like over 1 hour before it died, and if I left it alone for a day, I'd come back the next day and it would basically be dead. So clearly the original battery wasn't doing so hot. So I stuck in the original, I think was like a 750 milliamp hour battery, and the new one was like a 900 or 950. So it's about 20% larger. So theoretically it might get like an extra hour or two over the original battery. Assuming the original battery was good, which it clearly wasn't. But I paired this to my tablet, and let's just fire something up with some audio. Yeah, I'd say that works. It sounds as good as it did before I cracked the seal, so I don't think I damaged anything in terms of like the sound quality by opening this. And it wasn't too difficult, honestly, replacing that battery. And I know that I can open this again. The only thing that stinks is in my particular model, I broke off most of the clips on these two side caps. So this side cap, this one I think went on fine. Only one of them broke. And it friction fits, so this isn't going to pop off on its own. This one, however, like all the clips broke, and so this is hot glued on with like a dab of hot glue here. It doesn't seem to be coming off on its own, and I'm not going to pick at it, so I think that's going to be at least an okay temporary solution to that. Anyway, these are not, they're aesthetic mostly, so if they pop out, I'll just glue them back in again. But so far, this works actually really well, and I'm pretty happy with this. And I think I got this for like $8 or something. It was like around $10 with shipping. So not a bad value proposition, seeing as like a new one of these is about like $30. So I paid about the third of the price, replaced the battery on my own, which I already had the battery. And I was able to just make it work. And this will be plenty good enough of a Bluetooth speaker for me. I'm probably just going to keep this in my backpack as like an emergency Bluetooth speaker. But yeah, so yeah, it seems to work just fine. Has plenty of volume. The battery lasts at least as long as, when it was new. It's already past the 5-hour mark, and it doesn't seem, I haven't seen the red low battery indicator kick in yet. So I'm not going to charge this up. I'm going to let this run until it gives me the low battery indicator, and that'll give me an earmark of roughly how long the battery will last on this guy now. So yeah, overall, this happens a lot on eBay. People will buy a device with a built-in battery, use it, or like forget about it in a drawer, and then pull out one day and then it won't turn on, or it'll seemingly charge forever, and then as soon as you unplug it, it shuts off. this happens a lot. And so they'll post things that are like perfectly fixable and usable for like a fraction of the price. So if you are handy, you absolutely can pop open, as long as the device isn't made so difficult to open that you have to destroy it to open it. As long as that's not the case, you can conceivably open it, replace it with like a cheap $5 or $10 battery, and be back up and running as if you had a new device. So yeah, reuse, repair, recycle, absolutely. And so now I have a new Bluetooth speaker that to me is new, and it works perfectly fine now. This will be going in my backpack. Anywho, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to show you guys how to fix like one of these small battery powered devices that won't charge anymore. And the process is going to slightly differ between devices because obviously they're put together slightly differently. But the general process of like pulling out the old cell and like reusing the protection circuit if you have to, and resoldering a new cell in shouldn't be all that different. So you absolutely can do this yourself, but obviously be very careful when dealing with lithium, especially bare unprotected lithium batteries. They do have a tendency to have angry pixies inside that will release magic smoke if you're not careful. And you can definitely like burn yourself on them. Anywho, just be careful while you're doing this, and but it absolutely is doable. And I think more people should be doing this sort of thing in order to keep our electronics going as long as possible. Because sure, you could argue I could have bought just a brand new speaker, even the same model or the newer model, but I really shouldn't have to. If this were my device and I ran it down till the battery died, I would want to keep using this as long as possible till everything just disintegrates. And that's what I intend to do with this. Now that I know I can get into this and like roughly what size battery I can fit in, I can replace the battery on this for years and years to come, as long as the speaker and everything else continues functioning. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.